Welcome to Enter the Mind podcast, episode 42, the most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind. Today we'll be talking about body language secrets. Kira, how's it going?
It is going really good on my end. I'm a very happy and level-headed woman right now. How about you?
Happy and level-headed. And what is that, by the way, that you're burning?
I'm just lighting some sage, bringing it over to the viewers.
So what does that do?
It's cleansing. It clears like all negative energy or any
Ooh,
spirits in the house.
I like it.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice. And yeah, I'm doing well. I'm on a solid start to the week, so I'm gonna crush it. I know that for sure.
Hey.
All right. So what we wanted to do today was explore body language. It came out of last week's discussion of relationship non-negotiables, which then turned into a discussion on reading people and reading different types of people and tailoring your communication style to different types of people, right? And then we got this idea, well, a big part of that is reading body language. In order to read the type of the person that's in front of you and know what style they are, you have to be able to read them. And I think body language, I also want to include tonality in this. That's a huge part. And I can think back way back to high school and college, where I would take these classes called Communication 101 or interpersonal communication. And
Mhm.
it was just, it was so far apart from reality. It was complete textbook. It was like, there are three types of friendship: close friendship, distant friendship, and medium friendship. And then they would give you a quiz and you have to write those. And then it's like, okay, you got an A+ on the quiz because you said close friendship and distant friendship. But it's like that, your communication skills could still be horrible after you get a A+ on that quiz. So
Yeah.
I've always been looking. For how do you actually communicate better? Like what does it actually look like? Not in the classroom, but in real life, what does it look like? And here's an example. We can just riff off of this. But yesterday at work, I go into a meeting. It's just me and this one other person, right? And I said, how's it going? And the other person, she goes like this. She goes, good. And anyone who's a good communicator should know that right there that's called incongruence, where the words said good, but the big exhalation said something different, like I'm stressed or I'm tired or something, right? So that's exactly the next thing that I said. Instead of saying, oh, okay, good, yeah, I'm good too, right? Instead of saying that, I said, well, your words just told me good, but your tonality just told me that you're tired, right? That was my statement. And then I let her respond, and she goes, yeah, I am really tired. It's crazy hectic over here, and ... right? And that led into a conversation that then allowed me to pace her reality. Her reality is that she was running around doing a bunch of different things in her office, and I jumped on this meeting, and I need to pace my reality. I need to see, where is she at mentally? Where is her mind? What's her stress level right now? What's her emotion level? Where is her consciousness being pulled in different directions? And once I kind of understand what's going on there at the level of her mind, then I can get on the same page, on the same wavelength, and then we can have a conversation together. But that initial piece, it all starts with detecting sort of not what the words say, but what the body language, the tonality, all of those things, what are those telling me? And I just use that to kind of inform me. Does that, like, can you think of examples, similar examples that happen in your life, or what, like, what's your reaction to that, to hearing that example?
Well, I guess I have a few different thoughts that I can't entirely put my mind on, but I think that that's definitely one of the most like obvious things, like, oh, how you doing today? Like, I'm great. And you? Like that's definitely like one of the most obvious ones. But what about like in friendships, and what about like in romantic relationships, and what about like, I don't know, to your like employees? It's like I feel like most people, since clearly from your experience with the close friendship, the medium, and the distant relationship, people don't entirely know, I guess, the ins and outs of communicating. And I think that communicating has a big part in being authentic instead of letting yourself get in your head. Because as I was reading the other day, and this has stuck with me so much, I'm obsessed with it. However you come off to somebody, whether like blatantly or subconsciously, the strongest energy that you're coming off with is going to reach to that person. That person's going to grab it, and they're going to feed off of that and reply to you how you act most of the time. So it's like, even if somebody is yelling in your face and they're like, fuck you, I fucking hate you, but their underlying emotion within that is a really sincere, really kind emotion, then chances are the person replying is going to be like, are you okay, man? Like, what's going on? Like, what's going on? Instead of saying, well, fuck you back, because that's not the energy that that person came off with, right? So I feel like a lot of the time we're kind of scared to communicate. And like, I see this a lot in everyday life. And I think that you're definitely, I was thinking how you and I are very similar in this aspect, and how we're not scared to say something because we don't have those thoughts in our mind, like, oh, it's going to hurt somebody's feelings, So it was funny. I was with a friend the other day, and we were messaging this guy. He was taking us to a party, and we were going to go pregame at his house. And I go, he's a grown man. He's just a grown man, cool, amazing guy. And he texts Nicole, my friend, and goes, be there, come over at 6, like anytime after 6:20. Now the party started at 7, and me and Nicole were on time. We're very punctual people. And the party started at 7, and we were the models. We were modeling bikinis for this woman's birthday party. And so me and Nicole look at each other and we're like, 6:20. You think we're gonna have time? Right. So I go, you know what? I'll send him a text, right? So I tell her what I'm gonna send her, and I go, yeah, sorry. 6:20, no can do. We'll be there at 6. Right. And I don't know this man. I've never met him. I'm telling him, like, yep, 6:20 won't work. It's 6 p.m. And Nicole was like, my friend was like, don't say that, like maybe say it a little like nicer, And I thought to how like that's kind of the way that I communicate to people. I can tell that the energy that I give off when I speak this is pure, it's kind, it's loving, there is no forcefulness in it. So chances are he would text me back and say, all right, fine, 6 o'clock, come on over. So in that whole mouthful, I hope that I got my point across a little bit.
Yeah, just to clarify one thing. So you wanted to go 20 minutes early to the party?
20 minutes early to his house to pregame.
Okay. All right. So and you're saying you just kind of you were straightforward, in contrast to your friend. Your friend was like, oh no, what are we gonna do? This time is not gonna work or something. You just kind of straightforwardly communicated, like, no, we're gonna come earlier or something like that, right?
Yeah, like she was kind of like, no, maybe say like, hey Randy, I don't think that we're gonna be able to make it on time if we're there at 6:20, so maybe we could come over a little earlier. So I was like, okay, I'll send your message. And it comes down to exactly what you said to the woman in your office, you know, like you had absolutely no issues with saying, you know, it's funny because you weren't congruent, you know, like you said one thing, I know that you felt another. Come on now. And most people aren't comfortable communicating that way with people. They maybe think, oh, this person's going to think that I'm rude, or this person's going to think that I'm overbearing or overcrossing a boundary, you know, but like it's within communication, and if you have good intention with it, then you know, I think that it's completely fine to say that to anybody, things like that.
Yeah, totally. All right, I get it. So you wanted more time to get like more prep time, I guess, basically.
Yes.
Okay. So I think a lot of people suffer from what you're describing is this fear to communicate. And what I like about your example is that I would call it assertive, I would call it direct, um, but it's not rude.
Yeah.
And I think most people have this fear of being rude when what they're considering saying is not rude at all. It's just direct and maybe slightly confrontational. Um, but you're absolutely right. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe from this culture these days of people being. I think there's memes and stuff about how people are too easily offended, and it's like people are
Mm.
worried about, oh, well, I don't want to offend you, and because people do get offended, and then when people get offended, then they blame the communicator for what they said, and like, you offended me, or you offended my culture. And like, I don't know, maybe that's where it comes from. What do you think?
I think that I could definitely be offended by the way that some people communicate. And, you know, say I did send that message and I said, yep, no can do, coming over at 6, you know, and say he calmly spoke to me later and he's like, hey, I know that there was really nothing wrong with your message. I don't like to be spoken to like that or something, you know, then I would be like, oh, okay, I'm so sorry. That's, you know, how I communicate. I get it, you know, and I would understand that this specific person cannot be talked to like that because something within them does not like it, right? So somebody else say, you know, I can text another friend and be like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing right now, but you better stop because I'm coming over, right? And they could be like, LMFAO, okay, see you soon, right? Or they could be like, I could get there and they could be like, listen, Kira, I love you, but like, please don't invite yourself over to my house again. And I would be like, I'm so sorry. Okay, I understand. You know? So that's the whole thing of communication. You know, there's no reason for him to get angry that I invited myself over, but there is a reason for him to calmly express that that's not something that he likes or she likes, right? And same with me. If, you know, when they tell me that's not how I like to be spoken to, I could either take it as, fuck you, like you can't be spoken to like that, you soft ass bitch, right? But you know, I choose not to because I know that everybody is different. And if it were a vice versa situation and this person got mad at me for telling them how I like to be treated, I'd be like, okay, you're a little weird. Like, not sure if I want to be friends with you. You know, so I feel like that's how communication works. Just really being able to be compassionate and understanding of the other person's feelings while still holding your assertiveness and you know, you-ness.
Yeah, that's a good dynamic to like express or articulate. It's kind of understanding the other person's perspective, being aware of their emotional state, while at the same time kind of taking this clean path towards communicating. Um, even if it's direct, straightforward, or basically just saying what you mean. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, can we talk about body language for a minute? Because body language is always something that is like really something that like I don't entirely understand, but I try to understand, right? So say you're in a room and they say about body language, right? Like if you're in a room and your body is pointed towards somebody, then either consciously you like them or subconsciously, you know, there's something that you two, excuse me, will have in common, right? So it's like, all right, well, that's a little bit strange because I can go on a date, right? And the man could be all over me, loving me, kissing my hand, doesn't ever call me again, right? So it's like his body language was saying that he liked me, right? But then now he's not here. Why? Right? So it's like I feel like there needs to be like something understandable about body language that people can like digest, and it can be something that's obviously changeable because everything is changeable, but also concrete, something that we can understand, you know?
Yeah. While I don't consider myself exactly a body language expert, it is something I've studied, and I think that I've grown a lot in this area in terms of over the last 10 years or so working, and where my primary job was kind of to understand where people were coming from as a mental health counselor, right? And I think it almost ties into what we were talking about up until this point, that unfortunately a lot of people are not the direct communicators that you might be, straightforward, fearless communicators that you are. And so I think a lot of understanding people has to do with reading their body language, since they're not going to say what they're too scared to say what they really feel. So what comes out of their mouth is a socially appropriate, non-confrontational slush of words, but how they really feel is clear in their tonality and their body language. And so things that I observe, that I pick up on, and I get really deep into this stuff, so so bear with me, but here's an example. I always catch on to these like gestures of insecurity. So when a person asks for something, right? If they're not confident, they'll like scratch their head when they're asking for it, or these these weird things. Like I was watching a YouTube video one time, and the guy was not confident, right? They made some video. It was like a how to fix your kitchen pipes home improvement video or whatever, right? So he was not very like video friendly. Like he's not used to being on video, right? He was nervous. You could clearly see that he was nervous, right? And at the end, he was like, if you like this video, like, make sure you subscribe or something. And you could tell he didn't feel comfortable making that request to the audience, right? And what he did was, well, you can't see my legs here, but he was seated on like a chair or a couch or something. And when when he made that request, he closed his legs together, right? And I told my friend, I said, did you see that? And they said, no, why? And then I said, because he just made a request, but he protected his genitalia with that body language gesture. And I said, that's significant, because if you look at chimpanzee tribes, they will attack each other and they will bite each other's balls. I'm not kidding. They castrate each other, right? Because what damage can you do if it's, I mean, we're talking jungle, like you're really in the jungle. The male members of the species, how do they compete, right? They they try to like remove the reproductive ability of the other chimpanzees. That's how you maximize your offspring, right? If the other males cannot reproduce, then you will father all the children. And that's how deep this body language stuff gets. This goes back millennia, millions and millions of years, into like the deep evolutionary psychology stuff. So anyways, that's what I mean when I say it gets really deep, right? It has to do with social rank, social structure, social hierarchy, all of that stuff. But that's sort of the deepest end, right? There's this big spectrum. So anytime that there's a gesture, I kind of like read that as like, you have to read it in the context of like this evolved human social animal, right? What does it mean in a social context? And so that's where I'm coming from when I read the body language. But I think I digressed a little bit from what we were talking about before. Steer me back, but go ahead.
No, I think you touched on a great object, and I think that that's interesting as well, because sometimes, it's like you can't really see when somebody's being insecure with their body language unless you yourself have moved past that. So it's interesting because the more that I notice the insecurity in my body language, like the way I stand or the way I look when somebody speaks to me, etc., as I move past, as I level up in the secureness of, myself, and I can move more freely and more confidently, more securely, I'm able to see somebody make the mistake that I was making before. So I think it's definitely, I feel like somebody who's insecure with their body language doesn't entirely feel confident about the moves, doesn't entirely feel confident like when they look around. And I feel like that's because through like communication and body language, maybe since it's not so, I guess, like taught or taken in, then when you look at people, it's like you don't have the confidence. But if you look at somebody who is confident, you can see that they're not ashamed of the words or the movements that come out of their mouths, because they know that this is everything that they're doing is an exact display of everything that they've learned in life. And they are aware that everybody has learned things in life. So they're not the only one who is spitting out their knowledge with confidence. They know that they are not the only one with information and opinions and humility. So they move exactly like that. And they don't care. They put themselves freely in the world because they have a stable foundation within them that says, they can always come home to it, because it's that thing where it's like, listen, I'm okay. Everything is okay. It is okay to communicate. It is okay to be confident in my body language. It is okay to not be confident in my body language. It is okay to send my body language over there to somebody that I like. It is okay, because you know what? Everyone's fucking doing it. Everyone is communicating. Everyone is learning. Everyone is using body language. So what makes you so embarrassed, so insecure to use your body language, to use your communication skills? Listen, every single person who has amazing confidence, amazing communication skills, knows how to read body language or knows how to give off the exact body language to get what they want, is because they've read it in a book and they've practiced it. And some people, including me, I feel ashamed to take that knowledge that they've learned and put it into the real world. But if you think about it in a new perspective, everyone has learned the knowledge, read it in a book exactly like I have, which means that exactly what I'm doing, somebody has done before, and it's okay. It is okay to use something that you've read in a book to better communicate with somebody. It is okay to use methods and tactics that you've heard online to better assert yourself and use your body language. It is okay.
That's awesome. Yeah. Very well said. And we're I know we can keep going, but and we're already at 20 minutes after, so let's wrap up really quick. The 2 points that I wrote down is number one, self-examine, like examine your own communication, which was a point you just made, which is great. Yeah, it's not just reading other people's body language, it's reading your own, because it's almost like, sometimes it's almost like a robot, how automatic our behavior can be. So sometimes it's just a matter of watching my own mannerisms and then catching my own head scratches and be like, damn, why did I scratch my head just then? It's like, why do I feel uncomfortable like asking for this thing? Like, oh yeah, can I have a raise at, at work or something, like whatever it is. And then number two, being affirmed is the word I wrote. Like you said it so well, of just like being affirmed with your communication and not ashamed or embarrassed of it, and not hesitant, but just realizing everybody has to communicate, and just like using it intentionally, like not just being not just communicating in doubt, in this kind of cloudiness and doubt of like, oh, I don't know what to say, but just being like, here's what I feel, I'm going to voice it, put it into the universe, and see how the universe responds. All right, I'll pass it to you to close this out.
Okay, I'm gonna close it out with branching off from your thing, and I think that those are the perfect words to say for this situation, and it's speaking in doubt, moving in doubt. Listen, somebody calls my name from over here, am I gonna turn around like that, Am I nervous to turn around? Am I nervous to move my body? Am I nervous to turn my head? Why am I doubting that? Why am I doubting my ability to turn my body? Everybody turns like this. So why am I doubting my ability? I'm just like every other human. I mean, with our differences, of course, but I'm just like every other human. Why can't I turn my body like every other human? What's it called? Why can't I speak about my opinions just like every other human does, with no doubt? Why am I speaking as if the words that are coming out of my mouth are not true? Why is that? Why do I tell somebody that I learned something online in doubt? Why? I'll tell you why. Because the schools. But that's definitely what I wanted to close with. Just remember that, like, you are a fucking human, man. Everybody is a human. We all are fighting our own demons, and we all are trying to be something in this world, something that we want to be, something that is aligned with us. So the next time you feel weird to express the body language that you learned to make yourself seem professional or flirty or sexy or smart, do it. Because everybody is doing it, and everybody that you have seen doing it that you want to be like, they were in your position once, practicing it and asserting it. So yeah, just communicate, just be yourself, because everybody's doing it. And if somebody judges you for it, then talk to yourself and just see what the next move is, calmly, self-control. Do something that's going to make you happy in the future, something that's aligned with your values. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and listening. As always, we're so grateful for you. And you can catch me on Instagram at Soul Designed Future.
Awesome. And I'm on Instagram at Existence First. So what I want everyone watching to do is write in the comments, what's your goal for improving your communication right now in your life? What one thing are you working on improving? Is it you scratch your head too much? Is it you clear your throat before you speak and you're trying to not do that? There's so many options, but I'm curious to hear what people are working on these days. All right, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in next week's episode.